The door to Cellblock H slammed shut for the last time. The sound was so loud it made my chest shake. The metal echoed down the hall, bouncing off concrete walls like a warning that could not be taken back. A guard shouted, "Clear the tier!" No one moved. Men stood frozen inside their cells, gripping bars, staring at the center of the block. Someone was crying. Someone else was praying out loud. I tasted blood in my mouth because I was biting my lip too hard. On the floor, covered by a thin gray sheet, was the body of a man who arrived just 3 days earlier. He was the fourth one this month. And everyone inside this prison knew the truth. No one survived Cellblock H. As guards dragged the body away, I heard a voice behind me whisper, "You don't get transferred out of here." I turned slowly. The man speaking smiled, but his eyes were empty. "You only leave one way." That was when the lights went out. 2 weeks earlier, I didn't know Cellblock H existed. My name is Aaron Mitchell. I was 28 years old when the bus dropped me off at Northridge Penitentiary. I was sentenced to 7 years for armed robbery. I never hurt anyone. That didn't matter here. Northridge was one of those prisons people talk about in quiet voices. Tall fences, razor wire, watchtowers that never blinked. From the outside, it looked strong. From the inside, it felt hungry. The first day was slow and loud at the same time. Guards shouted orders. Doors buzzed. Men stared at me like they were counting how long I would last. I was sent to intake, then holding, then process again. No one explained anything. That was my first lesson. Late that night, a guard checked my file twice. Then he frowned. "Mitchell," he said, "you're moving." "Moving where?" I asked. He didn't answer. They walked me past the normal cell blocks, past places with windows and noise and movement. The air got colder. The lights got dimmer. The walls changed color. Then I saw the sign. Cellblock H. A man being escorted past me whispered, "Don't go in there." The guard pushed him forward. The doors opened, and the sound hit me first. Not yelling. Silence. Cellblock H was different. The cells were closer together. The bars were thicker. There were fewer guards than anywhere else in the prison. Too few. An older inmate stood at the bars of the first cell. His face was thin. His eyes were tired. "New fish," he said quietly. No one laughed. I was placed in the cell alone. The door locked behind me with a heavy click that felt final. I sat on the bunk and listened. No TVs. No music. No jokes. Just breathing. That night, I learned the rules. No one explained them to me. I watched. When a man stood too close to another cell, someone banged on the bars. When someone spoke too loud, a voice from the dark said, "Quiet." When someone ignored it, he disappeared. The next morning, the cell next to mine was empty. I asked the guard what happened. He said, "Medical transfer." But the other inmates shook their heads slowly. That was a low moment. Quiet, heavy, confusing. Cellblock H wasn't loud like other prisons. It was controlled. The men inside didn't fight for fun. They didn't need to. Power lived in whispers. On my second day, a man named Carl spoke to me through the bars. He had scars on his hands and a calm voice. "You know why they send people here?" he asked. "No," I said. He nodded. "People who cause problems. Or people who might talk." "I don't talk," I said. Carl smiled. "You will." Food came late. Showers were rare. Yard time didn't exist. We stayed inside the block day and night. On the third day, a man named Trevor arrived. He was young, loud, angry. "This place is illegal," he shouted. "They can't keep us like this." No one answered him. That night, Trevor kept yelling. He banged on the door. He threatened lawsuits. He cursed the guards. The guards never came. In the morning, Trevor didn't answer roll call. By noon, the smell started. That was the first extreme moment I saw in Cellblock H. They took Trevor out on a stretcher. The guards wouldn't look at us. One of them kept swallowing hard like he might throw up. After that, no one spoke for a long time. Days passed, then weeks. Men changed. Strong men stopped lifting. Angry men stopped yelling. Quiet men stopped moving. I asked Carl how long he had been there. 8 months, he said. Anyone ever get out? I asked. He looked at the floor. Not breathing. That was when fear moved in and stayed. One night, I heard crying from down the tier. A grown man, crying like a child, begging someone he couldn't see. Then silence. The next day, another cell was empty. The guards called it natural causes. The inmates called it Cellblock H. I started counting days on the wall, scratching small lines with a piece of metal. It helped me remember time still existed. Then something changed. A new guard started working the block. His name tag said Officer Lewis. He was young, nervous. He checked on us more than the others. One night, he stopped at my cell. "You okay in there?" he asked quietly. I nodded. He leaned closer. "This place isn't right." Before I could answer, a voice from the dark said, "Guard." Lewis jumped back. The voice continued, calm and slow. "You don't belong here." The next day, Officer Lewis was gone. No one said why. That's when I understood. Cellblock H wasn't just feared by inmates. It was feared by everyone. On my 14th day, the man 3 cells down collapsed during count. He fell face first and didn't move. The guards rushed in late. Too late. As they covered the body, one inmate whispered, "Another one." That made 4 this month. I stood at my bars shaking when Carl looked at me and said, "You see it now." "See what?" I asked. He met my eyes. "This block eats people." Then the alarms went off. Lights flashed. Doors rattled. Guards shouted. And at the far end of the block, someone screamed my name. The scream echoed through Cellblock H like it was alive. "Aaron!" My name bounced off the walls and came back louder. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stepped back from the bars, my hands shaking. "Don't answer," Carl whispered from his cell. "Whatever you do, don't answer." The alarms kept screaming. Red lights flashed, then stopped. The block went dark except for thin strips of light above each cell. Footsteps came closer. Slow. Calm. Not guards. "You hear me, Aaron?" The voice said again. I knew that voice. It belonged to Marcus Hale. Everyone in Cellblock H knew that name. Marcus didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He didn't need to. He had been in the block longer than anyone else. No one knew his sentence. No one knew why he was there. But everyone knew this. Marcus decided who survived the night. He stopped in front of my cell. I couldn't see his face, just his shape in the dim light. "You're new," he said. "Still breathing." I didn't answer. He chuckled softly. "Smart." Carl cleared his throat. "Leave the kid alone." Marcus turned his head slowly. 8 months, Carl. That's impressive. Carl went silent. Marcus stepped closer to my bars. "You've been watching, counting days, asking questions." My stomach dropped. "I don't like questions," he said. "Questions bring attention." "I don't want trouble," I whispered. Marcus nodded. "Neither do I. That's why this block works." The light snapped back on. Guards rushed in like nothing happened. Marcus stepped away and vanished into his cell before anyone could see him. Officer Lewis didn't come back. Instead, a new guard walked the tier. Older. Hard eyes. He didn't look at us. He didn't talk. That night, no one slept. The next morning, they took the body away from the far end of the block. 4th one this month. Just like that. The guard said it was heart failure. Carl whispered he was 26. The days after that were low ones. No screams. No alarms. Just waiting. We were fed less. Watched less. Left alone more. That's when Cellblock H became dangerous. When no one is watching, power grows. Marcus started giving orders without speaking. A tap on the bars. A look. A pause. Men moved when he wanted. Sat when he wanted. Stayed silent when he wanted. I saw it clearly now. Cellblock H wasn't run by guards. It was run by fear. One afternoon, Carl told me a story through the vent. "I testified against a guard," he said. "They said I'd be protected." I swallowed. "Protected how?" He laughed without humor. They sent me here. That night, Carl didn't answer when I called his name. In the morning, his cell door stayed closed. I banged on the bars. Guard, he's not moving. The guard glanced inside Carl's cell and shrugged. Medical will check. Medical never came. By evening, Carl was gone. That was my breaking point. I knew I wouldn't survive long in Cellblock H. Not like this. Not quiet. Not invisible. I needed help. That night, I waited until rounds passed. Then I whispered into the dark, "Marcus." "Silence. I'll do whatever you want," I said. "Just don't let me end up like them." A pause. Then his voice, calm and close. "Too late for deals," he said, "but maybe not for lessons." The next day, a new inmate arrived. Young, scared, just like Trevor had been. Marcus made sure I watched everything. The whispers, the pressure, the silence after the shouting stopped. By nightfall, the new inmate was begging. I couldn't listen. I pressed my hands over my ears. Then came the sound of a body hitting the floor. And this time, the guards didn't come at all. Marcus leaned toward my cell and spoke softly. "This is why nobody survives Cellblock H," he said. "You either become part of it or it eats you." Then he smiled and pointed at me. Marcus's fingers stayed pointed at me. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe right. Every man in Cellblock H was watching, even if their faces stayed still. They were waiting to see what would happen to me. Marcus lowered his hand. "Tomorrow," he said, calm and slow, "you make a choice." Then he stepped back into his cell. The light stayed on. The guards never came. That night, I didn't sleep. I thought about Carl, about Trevor, about the man covered with the gray sheet. I thought about the scratches on my wall and how few lines were left. Morning came like it always did. Too quiet. At count, Marcus spoke again. "Mitchell." "Yes." I answered before I could stop myself. "You're moving," he said. The guards looked confused. One of them checked his list. "That's not," the guard started. Marcus turned his head slightly. The guard stopped talking. And just like that, my cell door opened. I stepped out, my legs weak. This was it. This was how it happened. This was how people stopped breathing in Cellblock H. Marcus walked ahead of me down the tier. Other inmates pressed against their bars, eyes wide. No one spoke. He stopped at the last cell. Inside was a man I had never seen before. Older, thin. His eyes were tired, like Carl's had been. "This is Paul," Marcus said. "He talks too much." Paul shook his head. I didn't say anything. Marcus looked at me. "You believe him?" I didn't answer. Marcus leaned close to my ear. "If you want to live here, you learn how this works." I understood then. This wasn't about strength. It was about breaking people and turning them into tools. "I can't," I said. The word felt small, but it was all I had. The block went silent. Marcus stared at me. For the first time, his calm face changed. "You can," he said softly, "or you die." I thought of Carl, of Officer Lewis, of all the empty cells. "No," I said again. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Marcus laughed, a short laugh. Sharp. "So be it." He turned away. I was shoved back into my cell. The door slammed shut, harder than before. That night, the screams started early. Paul begged, cried, promised anything. Then nothing. I sat on my bunk, shaking, knowing I was next. But the guards came. Real guards. More than usual. Flashlights. Radios. Orders shouted loud and fast. Doors opened. Men were dragged out. Marcus shouted for the first time I had ever heard him shout. Someone had finally talked. Someone had recorded what was happening in Cellblock H. I never found out who. Marcus was pulled from his cell, fighting, screaming that this block belonged to him. The guards didn't listen. The next morning, Cellblock H was empty. They moved us all out. Medical teams came in. Investigators. People in clean clothes who looked sick when they saw the cells. They shut the block down. Forever. I was transferred to another prison. Normal noise. Normal rules. Guards who answered when you spoke. I survived. Others didn't. Months later, I heard Cellblock H was sealed with concrete. No one allowed inside. No records released to the public. They said it was under review. But inmates know the truth. Cellblock H wasn't just feared. It was designed to erase people. And I was one of the few who walked out alive. That's why they call it the Cellblock Nobody Survives.